I guess I have.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I have some general rules to read into the record for everyone, so if you just bear with me. This is the April 13th, 2021 meeting of the Laughlin Town Advisory Board. And here, social distancing will be practiced during this meeting. You'll be asked to keep appropriate spacing, which is 6 feet away from other meeting attendees. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order, and the boards may combine 2 or more agenda items for consideration. The board may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item at any time. No action may be taken on any matter that is not listed on today's posted agenda. All planning and zoning matters heard at this meeting are forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners Zoning Commission, known as the BCC, or the Clark County Planning Commission, known as the PC, for final action. Please take a moment to turn off or mute all your cell phones or electronic devices. I know I forget that frequently. Please take any and all private conversations that you need to have outside of this room. And within 48 hours of advance requests, a sign language interpreter or other reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate persons with physical disabilities may be made available by calling 702-455-3530, TDD at 702-385-7486, or Relay Nevada toll-free at 800-326-6868. Supporting material provided to the board for this meeting may be requested from Tammy Harris here, and her number is 702-298-0828, and is or will be available at the county's website, which is www.clarkcountynv.gov. If you do not wish to attend this meeting in person, but would like to comment on an item appearing on this agenda or provide general public comment, please submit your comments to tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov before the meeting at 10:30 a.m. the day of the meeting. Please include your name, address, and identify which agenda item you are commenting on and your comment. Comments will be read into the record, and no comments over 3 minutes in length will be read. All comments received will be compiled into a document and shared as part of the meeting's minutes. So that's a new item that is available because of COVID constraints. Here before you today is your board, which consists of Kathy Oakes, Kathleen Haas, Fred Doughton, Herm Walker. Pamela Walker will not be with us today, so she has an excused absence. Our secretary before us is Tammy Harris, and she can also be reached, as well as the town manager's office, at 702-298-0828, and again, her email is tammy.harris, HARRIS, at clarkcounty.nv. So since we've convened this meeting and called it to order, if I can please ask everyone to stand for our invocation. Today it's going to be given by Father Charlie.
Many of you already know of our new building dedicated to the memory of Father Francisco Garces, the first European to ever visit what is now Nevada. And in 1776, he visited what is now Laughlin, Nevada. His birthday was yesterday. He was born April the 12th, 1738 in Spain. His writing in his diary was the first European writing ever to be done in what is now our state of Nevada. And this is one of the things Father Garces wrote in his diary. Patience is essential, and not being afraid. For without patience and resolve, little will result. May God help us with the patience and the resolve we all need to do God's work and the work of our government here in this beautiful part of Nevada. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And if I could please have Kathleen Haas lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please salute our flag and repeat with us the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, so for a formality, I'll go ahead and do a roll call. I'll start with Pamela Walker, which we know is absent, an excused absence. Herman Walker,
Here.
here. Fred Doughton,
Here.
Kathleen Haas,
here.
and Kathy Oakes, present. Okay. And that constitutes 4 members, so we do have a quorum. A little bit of housekeeping here related to the public comment section, and this is a period now known as the public comment portion by the general public on items that are on this agenda that we have before us today. No discussion, action, or vote may be taken on this agenda item at this time. You will be afforded the opportunity to speak on individual public hearing items at the time they are presented. If you wish to speak to the board about items within its jurisdiction but not appearing on this agenda, you must wait until the comments by the general public period listed towards the end of this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to our speaker's podium, state your name and address for the record, and if you would please spell your name since it is recorded and sometimes it's difficult to get the appropriate spelling. And the board, if can extend the length of a presentation, and that would be done by the chairperson or a member of the board by majority vote. And in addition, as I said earlier, because of COVID restrictions, we now have the availability that if you do not wish to attend this meeting, but would like to comment on an item appearing on this agenda, please submit your comments to tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov before 10:30 a.m. the day of the meeting, and please include your name, address, and identify which agenda item you are commenting on and your comment. Comments will be read into the record, and no comments over 3 minutes in length will be read. All comments received will be compiled into a document and shared as part of the meeting's minutes. Okay. So going forward to item number 3, I have approval of our March 9th, 2021 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review that? Is there any discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And moving forward, approval of today's agenda for the April 13th, 2021 meeting. Hold, combine, or delete any items. Is there any discussion? Does anyone want to hold or change the order of things that we have before us today? Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll go ahead and call for a motion.
So move.
Okay, motion for approval of today's agenda. I have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Moving forward to item number 5, which is our informational items for today. We'll start with receiving a report from Metro Police regarding activity and statistics during the past month and other crime concerns. Hello.
Hi, Sergeant Gino Briscoe, Laughlin Sub. I'd like to introduce the station commander come May 1st. It'll be Grant Rogers.
Welcome.
Hello, like Gino said, I'm Grant Rogers. I'll be the new lieutenant here starting May 1st. So just want to come to the board meeting and introduce myself and let you guys know if you need anything. I'll be here. I can read the stats for the month of March, and if there's any questions, then just let me know. So we had 359 calls for service for the month of March here for Laughlin. Compared to last year, was a slight increase. There was 308 last year at the same time. And then comparing it to February, the month prior, we had 317, so about the same number-wise. As far as traffic citations, we wrote 337 traffic citations in the Laughlin jurisdiction. We had 1 DUI, 7 arrests for domestic violence involving adults, 31 bookings into the substation jail here overall for the month, and nothing on the juvenile side of it. So that's kind of just the breakdown report that I have for you guys. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I don't know if anything I can do for you.
Herm, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I haven't passed what I'm about to say for review by the board. But I would like to say to Metro and the fire department that you're going to continue to be welcome by the Laughlin Township.
Thank you. And if you want to give you a quick overview of, I know it's not the river run this year, it's kind of the Arizona Mayhem side. So we're going to staff it very similar to an actual full river run. I'm bringing 4 patrol squads from Vegas down here. They are, just as years past, they will be staying at the casinos for the 3 days. I will have 1 traffic squad here, which will just be the guys on the motorcycles that'll handle some traffic enforcement. So we don't really know right now what to expect. I'm actually meeting with the Bullhead City Commander at 2:30 today to kind of see what their plan is and what their crowd size is looking like. So we just want to make sure everyone here in Laughlin is safe, protected. If there's a huge event over there, we just have to assume that everyone's going to stay here because these are all the hotels are at. So we don't want to be caught off guard with any kind of surprise. So there'll be plenty of police officers here for Laughlin for that week, for that Thursday through Sunday.
And will you be here?
Yes, I'll be here.
Even though you officially start May 1?
Yeah.
So you're going to start early? Okay.
Yeah, I'll start early, kind of a temporary assignment until it goes permanent on May 1st.
Yeah, because we really don't know what we're going to have
Yeah.
and how it's going to play out for Harley. I think Jackie, I don't know if you're staying for her presentation from the LTC and the Laughlin Chamber. She may have a better idea of what.
Okay.
So if she's in part of your discussions, I think that would be good as well.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm sorry, were there any other questions of him? I just jumped ahead.
Anything else?
I was just seeing, I forgot to ask the rest of the board if they had any questions for you. Again, thank you. And moving to informational items number 2, receive a report from Clark County Fire Department regarding calls for service during the past month and fire prevention issues. Hello.
Good afternoon, Board. Thomas Touchstone, Deputy Chief of Operations with the Clark County Fire Department. I'm here to present statistics for the last 2 months. I apologize. I was not here last month, and I apologize for that. I provided in my report an update for February and March. I'll briefly skim February, then I'll review March in more detail because it's more recent. I'll just go right to the bottom of February statistics. You can see that for this year in February, Clark County Fire Department responded 223 calls for service, as opposed to 242 calls for service last year, so there was a slight decline of about 8%. For March of 2021, on the other hand, we saw an increase. Station 76 ran 13, out of Engine 76, they ran 13 EMS calls, 3 fire calls, and 5 other calls for a total of 21. And you can see that's a significant decline, but that's a result of the fact we put Truck 76 in service, which we've kind of been talking about the last few months or so. Rescue 76 ran 75 calls for EMS, 2 fires, 6 others for a total of 83, whereas last year they ran 77 calls. Truck 76 ran a total of 24 EMS calls, 8 fire calls, and 1 other for a total of 33. So you would have to combine Truck 76 and Engine 76's calls to kind of determine where they were as compared to last year, but the station total ran 137 calls for service in March, whereas last year they ran 120. So we see we had a 14% increase there, which is really symbolic of what we've done in the city as well of Las Vegas. We've ran about the same increase in calls March compared to February. I've reported before, but I want to remind everybody that Truck 76 is our primary response vehicle for fire suppression, but they'll also respond on most EMS calls out of that truck. Any EMS calls that the four-person ALS resource would be dispatched to, we're responding with the truck. We left the engine there, as I reported, I think in January, for specific types of responses. I believe I said we use that apparatus for vehicle fires, but also for any calls that occur up the hill. If we have to travel up the hill, it's our aerial apparatus or the truck company is significantly heavier and is not going to make that grade as well as often. We also use the engine company to travel along the dirt roads more frequently. We wouldn't take a truck company on a dirt road. So anytime we respond around the lake or a river where it's going to be a dirt, or not a hard packed surface, we're going to take the engine over the truck company. So it's great that our firefighters have the ability to respond out of either apparatus, and they've been given clear direction for these types of calls. We're always going to respond in the truck, but with the exception of these very specific calls, both apparatus are fully equipped and they can choose to run out of the engine if necessary. But we brought the truck company down here specifically for fires, to have that aerial apparatus, the big ladder tower with water capability. Moving on to Station 85, in March of 2021, they ran 71 EMS calls, 13 fire calls, and 12 others for a total of 96 as compared to 84 last year, same time period. That's a 14% increase. So for total for the year, in March, we ran 233 responses as compared to last year, we ran 204. Year to date, I think we always like to look at our year to date numbers. You can see that we ran 693 calls year to date versus 678, which is a 2% increase from last year, which we expect that number to continue growing as all the people begin coming back this summer. It's already getting really busy in Las Vegas, and we expect to see the same types of increases down here. So we're anticipating we're gonna be picking up. That's the end of my report. I'm ready to answer any questions if you may have any.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Right, we'll receive a report from Will Smith, Clark County Water Reclamation District, regarding status of the wastewater system.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, elected board members. Statistics for Will Smith, Clark County Water Reclamation District. Statistics for Laughlin Water Reclamation Center, March 21st. The Laughlin Water Reclamation Center treated an average of 1.58 million gallons a day, producing clean water returned to the Colorado River. Last year, this time, March 2020, had an average of 1.50 MGD. The difference of 2020 to 2021, 80,000 gallons per day from last year at this time. Sewer service complaints, we had none. Odor complaints, we had none. 20 call before you dig tickets for here in Laughlin received for March 2021. And our influent monthly flow comparisons are attached to the paperwork you have received earlier. That's pretty much it for us at the Clark County Water Reclamation District. Any other questions?
Are there any questions from the board? I think we're seeing, a little bit of the increased, obviously, our community shut down right about the 17th of March last year.
Yes, ma'am.
So while residential use would have picked up, the commercial corridor shut down. So I think that you're going to see quite a bit in April and May as well, until we were allowed to kind of reopen again in June. So I think that'll be the trend going forward for the police, the fire, water, everything will pretty much be large increases over year prior. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jason Bailey is not here with us today from Big Bend Water. However, I believe, is this at the back of the room? Okay, so there is, if anyone wants the report, that it is available at the back of the room at the counter. But basically what it's showing again is 2021 March is 244 acre feet. 2021 year-to-date total diversions are 661 acre feet, where 2020 year-to-date was 712 acre feet. So obviously, we're seeing the same trend existing there as we well expect. Okay, so then we'll go forward to item number 5, which is to receive a report and updates from Clark County Public Works regarding current road conditions and projects. So this was something that has been in the works for a while.
Oh, it's nice to get that offer.
Yeah, we know.
I've been here for about an hour and a half. Thank you very much. My name is Bob Luke, and I am the Deputy Director of Public Works. Don't let Dennis hear that, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is my first official trip out of the office in a little over a year, so it's nice to get out and about finally. We're starting to reopen a little bit up in Las Vegas. You can now schedule in-person meetings as long as they're not too small, or too big, I should say, which is great. So we're able to start doing a little bit of that. But we've stayed pretty darn busy working online pretty much all through the pandemic so far. We've been staying very busy with some of our projects. So I'm here to give an update on the projects that we have going on here in Laughlin. I know that there are some specific requests about roadways, and I was hoping that I would have some actual news on our rating. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to shut down our road rating crew for, I think it was almost 6 months, when we had the inability to social distance. We have a truck, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a specialized truck that has some equipment in it. It requires 2 people to operate it. It's got a lot of computers, it's got radars on it, it's got some things hooked up to the transmission to measure the various things, and it's got a bunch of cameras in it. Anyway, it takes 2 people, and of course, it's a regular truck, so you could not maintain the social distancing. So we had to shut that down. We were scheduled to come in and rate all of Laughlin's roads last winter, but we weren't able to do that at all. The original program, just to let you know, we have this road rating system that we just started in late 2018. And we broke up all of Clark County into 5 areas. 4 of those areas, as you can imagine, are in the metro Las Vegas area. That's where the most of our roadway miles are. And then the 5th year was going to be all of the outlying areas. But we knew, because of some discussions we had with some of the residents last year, we wanted to move up Laughlin, and so we moved them ahead till last winter, but it never happened. Right now, we're hoping to get them out if everything goes good. The crews have been working for the last 2 months. When they relaxed the social distancing, they still have to wear their masks, but as long as they sanitize the vehicle and do all of that stuff, every time they're in and out of the vehicle, they have to do that. They're able to do it. So we're hoping maybe October this year, otherwise November. They will rate every, they will rate every road in Laughlin, and we will know where they are. And that is the first thing in order to build any kind of a repair program or a rehab program.
I'm sorry, when is that again, that's due to happen?
Right.
It's due to happen hopefully this October. If everything goes, like I said, they're back at work now. They're getting caught up because of all the time they lost last fall. But they're hoping to get over here in October. I talked to them last week, and they said if everything goes smooth, they'll be able to get in here October, maybe November. It'll take, they figured, about a month to maybe 6 weeks to rate all of the roadways. Once we have that, then we'll be able to come up with what needs to be done, when we can do it, prioritize things. We'll be coming back, obviously, to the board at that time and talking about what our options are. But we don't, I just don't have any information on it. I wish I did. I do know that the roads, just like a lot of the areas up in Las Vegas, we're starting to get caught up a little bit, but they're behind. And that's just due to, the downturn 10, 12 years ago. We just are, it's a struggle to try to do the maintenance on them, but we're committed to keeping our roads up to date. So We were able to get out and do Thomas Edison as an emergency thing. I know there was one comment, everybody thought that roadway work cost $2.2 million. That wasn't the correct number. The whole contract, which included a bunch of other work down on Casino Drive and whatnot, was the majority of it. I don't remember the exact amount. I want to say maybe it was $150,000 or $200,000 of that. It could have been more, but it wasn't. There was an article or something that somebody had mentioned. Why is it $2.2 million to do that one stretch of? It wasn't $2.2 million. If somebody has it, I can get the actual number. I just didn't look it up before I left today. So that's not such good news. We just haven't got to it yet, but we will. It'll hopefully be October. I have a number of other projects that we are working on up here, as you all are aware. Probably the one that is at least the most recent project is the Laughlin Bullhead City Bridge project. Bids were opened last month for the project. It's been in the works. I was over in Bullhead City working starting in 2007, and they were already working on this project. So now here in 2021, we actually have a project designed. All of the approvals from all the federal, state agencies has been obtained, and we advertised the bridge and opened the bids on March 9th. We've gone through, we're evaluating them, but everything looks okay. And if everything goes according to the plan, it's currently scheduled to go to the Board of County Commissioners on May 4th. That's subject to change if the purchasing department gets backed up a little bit, but that's right now what we're planning on doing. Once it goes to the board and it's awarded, there's about 6 weeks, give or take, to do all the paperwork, bonds, insurance, and all of that kind of stuff to get the contractors ready to go, or the contractor ready to go. Then we will issue a 4-month materials notice to proceed, because in order to build that bridge structure, they have to order some of the specialty equipment and have that delivered. Steel, some of the precast, just for the temporary bridge that they'll need to construct the permanent bridge. So we're going to issue a 4-month materials notice to proceed. The contractor won't be out there doing any construction, but they will be doing all of this other stuff, doing all their purchasing, getting their preliminary submittals approved, and all that kind of stuff. All told, we hope to have construction start later this fall. We don't know, but I will know after we get the contractor's materials notice to proceed issued, because one of the things they'll be giving to us is their construction schedule, and it'll be scheduled for 4 months after that they'll start. So sometime this fall we'll see that. We're real excited about it. And so the other thing is, after we issue the formal notice to proceed, which will be after the 2-year material, or the 4 months materials notice to proceed, it's a 2-year construction contract. Next project I wanted to mention is the Casino Drive Special Improvement District project. We have been working for the better part of a year on the preliminary design. As everybody can imagine, that is some of the most rugged and variable terrain we have in the...
Mr. Luke, just for clarification, so this is because years ago, we had Casino Drive divided into 2 sections.
Yep.
Which basically is from the bridge to roughly Harrah's. But what you're discussing right now goes from Harrah's to Needles Highway, the second
Yes.
phase. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you mentioned it.
No
Yes,
problem.
that is the section that we're working on now. And so we've hired a consultant last year, GCW, and they've been working actively on it. We all have in the office on this. Because of the terrain, trying to figure out the water and sewer for that properties that front that is just unbelievable. Because not only is there a large vertical change going from upper to lower, but partially along the way it comes up and
Need a
goes
lift
down.
station, yeah.
And then it comes up a little bit again. And so, as an example, the sewer is going to be in some areas through that stretch that gets down below, but before it goes down into the level area heading west towards the lift station, it'll get 40 plus feet deep.
Yeah, I would think it would qualify for another lift station, would it not? Yeah.
Well, we have, that was one of the things we looked at. We looked at options for multiple lift stations. We looked at options for directional drilling. That's too much to try to do directional drilling wise. Although when we bid it out, a contractor may decide that's the method they want to choose. But yes, we looked at all kinds of different options. Upgrading existing lift station, and that's one of the things that has to happen, is that the existing lift station has some capacity, but it doesn't have enough for all the properties that'll be included in the SID. Water was another thing, because there's actually 2 pressure zones that property, because it's from basically river level all the way up to the top, is, I don't remember what maybe 250 or 300 feet. That's typically at least 2 pressure zones. So there was a lot of things that happened. We worked with both Las Vegas Valley Water District and Clark County Water Reclamation District. We figured those out. Some of the estimates were just huge. And so we worked and worked and worked. We finally have that fine-tuned. So we now moved on to the actual establishing of the SID, or the evaluations and stuff. So
Per linear foot.
yes.
Okay.
Well, there'll be some of that, and we're proposing some acreage-based stuff that is more appropriate for properties, like for the water as an example. The roadways and stuff like that, but some of the water will be, they were proposing to utilize the square footage. It's
Okay,
We'll come
acreage
back and
instead of
talk-
linear foot. Yeah, normally
well, a lot of them
SIDs are linear
You're right,
feet.
and that's what we are proposing for the sewer and for the roadway stuff. Yes, that's but the water was a little bit different. And so the consultant, they looked at a couple of different methods, and they felt that it was fair to all the properties to go by the acre size of the lot as opposed to the frontage. So
Makes sense.
anyway, so now what we've got this preliminary design done, and now we're going through the actual special improvement district process. You can go on to the county's website, and if you go to Public Works, you can actually, or you can Google up in that area, the special improvement district, and the whole process that we go through for any SID is pretty much prescribed by state law, so we have to follow that process. What we're doing now is we're in the process of selecting an appraiser to do the pre-appraisal. That's the first thing they have to do. They have to look at the existing value of the properties, the value that they estimate the properties would be if the improvements were installed, and then they compare that to the cost of those improvements. And if it turns out that there is a benefit to doing those improvements, then the property owners can vote on it at that time whether they want the SID to be formed. If, on the other hand, it ends up being that it is too costly to do the improvements, that there won't be the appropriate or the necessary increase in property values, then of course it doesn't make sense to spend more money than what you're going to get out of it. That's all coming up in the future. There's a process set up. The first thing we need to do is to obtain the appraisals, which they're in the process of doing that now, selecting and negotiating a contract for the appraisals. So once that happens, we'll be having a series of discussions with the finance department. They do research on bonding and what the cost might be, come up with all of that. Then we'll have information to actually share with the property owners. Right now, we only have the preliminary cost, but we don't have any of the other information for them to make it. So it's a long process, but we're past the part of actually having the design worked out.
Is there any funding that you guys, or additional funding that you guys are looking at from Fort Mojave Development Fund? And then the other question, just to keep in the back of the project, would be with legislation, at least federal legislation, coming forward for infrastructure. If there would be any funding for available through that would pertain to that SID.
We have already secured funding from RTC for a portion of the roadway.
From RTC?
Yes,
Okay.
from that. And the federal funding, we haven't pursued any of that yet. We don't want to submit an application for a
Correct,
project
until
that
you know
doesn't-
what it's going to cost.
If it's, or if it's even going to go.
Yeah, if you're going to get a return on the
Right.
investment, yeah.
If we submitted that and we said, well, we don't even know if it's going to go. It probably wouldn't even be considered by the federal agencies. That is definitely an option for the future, though, once we get past this other part of it. But we have obtained a commitment for funding from the RTC, and so that'll help. That's going to offset the total cost, a pretty significant amount. I don't remember the number. I want to say maybe 20 to 25 or $30 million. I don't remember what the number is, but it's something like that. And also, as far as the Fort Mojave Fund, a portion of the design is being paid for by that, with the intent that that money would be paid back to the, once the bonds are sold. That would be come from the proceeds of the bond
sale.
So anyway, we're guardedly optimistic. It's all going to depend on the appraiser, and that's going to take a while, as you can imagine. I think there's 40 some potential properties. I don't remember.
Property owners or
Property
properties?
owners. Well, properties, I think. I don't know how many of those are multiple owners, but I think there's 40 some properties along the route, and that, you know, it's going to be hopefully cost effective for all of them to, you know, for us to do this. We're hoping that, like I said, we're guardedly optimistic that the numbers are going to work out, but I'm no real estate person. I couldn't even begin to guesstimate what the values of the improvements will be to the land. That's the part I don't know. But it is in process. If we'd have asked this a month and a half ago, we were still working with water and the sewer districts and our consultant working on getting this 30% design done, because it was such a challenge. I mean, it just
topography and
it was really something, yeah. But we've gotten past that now, so which is good. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, once we get the appraisals and stuff done, and I don't even know for sure how long that'll take, then we'll know a lot more. Then we'll be able to start reaching out and doing some other things. But another thing is we have the Laughlin Lagoon Maintenance Dredging SID. That was put in place after the dredging was completed back in 2019. Late 2018, we did all of the final work in early 2019. And we're continuing to do things. There was some environmental closeout that needed to be done to meet the EPA requirements and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife requirements. So that is being completed right now. The last thing was to plant some cattails in some areas that were disturbed to improve some of the habitat. I don't know if any of you realize this, and I didn't know this per se until I started working on the project, but this lagoon has been used for maybe the last 15 years by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Bureau of Reclamation for the endangered species, breeding and stuff. It's become a very important part of that. I didn't realize that specific lagoon was. Even when I was working over in Bullhead City, I knew that.
I think it's called the flannel suckerfish or something like that.
Yeah, there's the.
I can't remember the name. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Our
And there's
angler in the audience.
There's another one too. It's the sucker and the bony-tailed chub. Yep. And there also is the Yuma clapper rail or something, or the unit. It used to be the clapper rail, but it's the Yuma Ridges rail is the name of this. It's an endangered bird, and they love that area. It's really an important habitat for them. So because of that, there's a lot of other regulations. I didn't know this when we were starting the project, but it's an important area. But it's coming along. We have right now we're monitoring. We've been doing surveys on the lagoon. We've done 2 of them so far in the last 2 years to see from the storms what kind of inflow is coming in. Are we filling up the lagoon again? You know, we did this $4.1 million dredging project because over the course of 20-some years, that lagoon ended up with almost 240,000 cubic yards of material, which is what we dredged out. So we're trying to stay ahead of it, and that was the intent of this, is to come up with a plan. So we're working on that. We're spending fairly small amounts each year until we get to the point where we need to do the next dredging. So, we're trying to do it so that we don't have this huge $4 million dredging anymore. You know, we're trying to keep it smaller. That takes me to the next item I wanted to talk about is the Laughlin drainage projects We're right now in the process of working with the Regional Flood Control District on their upcoming year of the 10-year construction plan. So for programming, right now, the project that is programmed is the Hyco Detention Basin expansion. That is the program, or that's the project that's in there. However, what we have noticed in the Laughlin Lagoon is there is one inflow in particular. It is a wash that comes down, but it's a pipe. I'm trying to remember what the name of it's the Marina. It's LU. Anyway, it's what's that? Yes, it's the Marina. I think they call it the Marina Bay or the Laughlin Marina Bay Wash or something like that. It's some name for that. The problem is that it drains down, comes all the way off from Needles Highway, and then I can't remember the name of the first subdivision there, but that subdivision drains through it, and then it discharges out into the desert.
Yeah, it's gonna be Laughlin Estates, I think, that it goes through and then,
Yes, that's,
Turn around, other way,
I'm sorry.
face.
It's this right here.
Yeah.
And it drains down in this area. If you go down there now, or if you take your boat in there, you will see that it's starting to fill up. This area from here down to here is.
that's okay, no, we can see it there. Doug has it up there for us.
That area is just native ground. So every time it rains, it has drainage, and then it comes down, and it's washing dirt in there. So what we're trying to do is see if there's any potential way that we can move some monies around and do something up there to alleviate that. The problem is that particular project is more expensive than doing the expansion that's proposed for Hyco Basin. But we're just looking at that to see if there's ways around it. But what we wanted to do, what Dennis asked me to ask you all is, do you have a project or something? Do you have any suggestions that we could put in? We're right now, at the end of the month, we're supposed to submit to RFCD for next year. And we wondered if you have a suggestion for a project. It doesn't need to be these here. It's, we'd like to have the towns give us what they would like to see done.
I will just comment on what you're talking about there because I've been here long enough and go back to when Senator Rogers had the Laughlin Bay Marina. And there was talk with his architect, Sam, about putting in a box culvert to stop that. It was something that affected his ability to be able to expand the marina, and that goes back 2005, 2008, if I remember correctly. I don't know if that work was ever done because, of course, then the marina changed ownerships and things like that. But that was the solution that they came up with, and I think that was 2005.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
That timeline works out exactly with what
The 10-year.
I did some research in the master plan updates that have been done, and there's every 5 years in the county, RFCD updates all of the master plans.
Yeah, I think it was a box culvert
And
that was
that's-
going to eliminate that problem.
Yep.
And if
And
that
that-
has never been done, then obviously we still have the
Yes,
problem.
and that's the one, that box culvert that you're talking about is, it's a lot more expensive than what's programmed up
you
there, up at the
I see.
Hyco detention basin for the expansion. But you're absolutely right, that's what needs to be done. I can't remember the size of it, but the RFCD's master plan already calls out the sizing of this facility.
Right.
But, yeah, and so we're looking at different ways. Is there a way that we can help slow that down or something? But if
Up
there's,
above, instead
Well-
of putting in the box culvert.
yes.
Okay.
Up above the lagoon.
Right.
And so we don't know yet, but if you do have any suggestions, just let me know. I mean, if there's any other things, this is just what we've been working on. Otherwise, if there's no other ones and we can't come up with something directly that'll do that, then our intention is to leave the Hyco Basin expansion in. I mean, that's a valuable project too. But if there is something else that anybody knows,
So we have until the end of the, right on the spot here, there's not,
No, I know.
necessarily anything I can specifically think of, but give me a little time. So if we would get back to you by, let's say, within the next by the 23rd of the
Yeah.
month,
Mhm.
would that be adequate?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
I
so,
would-
I mean, there's a lot of people here today that, and those of us that are, involved in a lot of these different
Mm-hmm.
projects. Right off the top of my head, don't think of any, but I know there are several.
Okay. What I will also do is I will pull the pages out of the most current master plan, which is just done in 2019. They'll have a big one, a map, and then some of the other information too. I'll email that over to you, Tammy, and then that'll give you an idea of the things that have been identified and to see if there's any other projects you'd like to move in place of that one. So I'll pull that information. I should have brought it today, but I was.
But as long as we have a timeline.
Yes.
Fred?
I do have a question. That pipe dumps into the river, if I remember correctly. And the last time I looked at it was about a year and maybe 14 months ago. And there's a big grate in front of it, and the sand is piled up so much that the grates can't be moved. And there's sand, there's trees growing in there. And I think somebody needs to look at that and, if nothing else, clean it out.
Well, funny you should mention that, because I was able to come down and we did an inspection. I came down with our crews that are out. We have a vector control group that takes care of the mosquitoes and the black flies and whatnot on the river over here. And they invited me down last fall. I think it was in September, October, because I wanted to go into the lagoon too. So they were already doing some stuff. So I just drove down, they picked me up, we went over there and looked at it, and then they dropped me off and went back and did their stuff. And that was one of the discussions. Some of the guys from our roads division, they were there and they go, oh yeah, we need to clean that out. We got something growing there. That actually is not that you're talking about. There is actually 2 or 3 drainage ways, washes, drains or something that come down into the lagoon. The one you're talking about is actually a pipe all the way going back
Yes.
up. The one and it's, even though it's got a lot of growth at the end of it, there's not as much sediment coming into the lagoon there. It's the one that we don't have the pipe down on the last piece, that it's just washing the dirt right above the lagoon and taking it down in there. So, but yes, we noticed that. There was pretty good, they're trying to figure out how they're going to be able to get in there with the equipment that they're going to need, but those guys are a lot smarter at that than I ever was, so I didn't say anything about it.
I couldn't figure it out either.
They'll get it. I think they're going to do it maybe this summer. I don't know for sure what their plans are, but they did say, well, we got to take care of that. So good point though. But that's where we already have a pipe in. When the whole drainage system in Laughlin is complete, all the $100 million worth of construction later, all of those pipes that carry that will come down in, and it'll be discharging clean water, because we'll have detention basins built up, and then we'll have pipes all the way, so we won't have all that sediment coming in. But that's a long, long ways away. That's a wish list, but it's on the master plan. You'll see ultimately that they have planned for all that. It's just that we have to figure out. Then we won't have all that sediment coming down, and that'll help a lot. That's really one. We won't have to do a $4 million dredging nearly as often, but it's better environmentally not to be pulling all that material down into the water. It just doesn't need to be there. So. Anyway, so yes, if you could, I'll send that back to Tammy, and then she can distribute it. And if you can let me know, the 23rd is fine.
By the 23rd would be,
yeah.
I think that's like a Friday or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the last project I have to mention, speaking of the sediment coming in, you know that we completed the connection and the construction of the drain that basically parallels and goes underneath Casino Drive over by 163. That construction was completed. And down at the river, there is an outfall, a big concrete structure with some baffles on it so that when the water comes shooting out, it doesn't scour a hole or anything. That was completed. That's been a lot of years in the works. But we created another problem by doing that. If you go down there, we got these reports a couple of months ago that during the rainstorms, there is material that's getting picked up way both north and west of Highway 163, and it gets washed underneath the highway and comes down, and then it goes into, and we've just made it a lot easier for this material now to get down into the river. Be careful if you're going from the Laughlin's launch ramp north, right along the edge, because just downstream of the bridge, you're gonna see that a delta is starting to form there. We're getting sediment there. And because that connection wasn't there, it wasn't nearly as large. It would have to come over the roads and everything and flood it and come on down through in order to get in there. So we've made it much easier. So because of that, we're working with RFCD. They've given us some money and we're trying to, well, not trying, we will design some kind of a sediment basin, which will be not a full-blown detention basin, but something that'll capture any dirt that's getting washed down out of the foothills and the mountains. It'll capture it there so that our road crews can come in and excavate it and it won't go into the river. So we're just starting that. I don't even know if they've actually, I think they started the design, but only within the last few weeks. So we just really found out about it around the first of the year. So, but that'll be another thing that we have. So, other than that, I don't know.
Do we have any more questions from the board?
Sure.
Is there any, okay,
You want,
sir?
you want to come up here?
Yeah, if you go ahead and come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
As you know, my name is Fred Wells. I've been the one that's been instituting all this there, I don't know, I guess you call it rioting about streets. Anyway, this gentleman here, I don't even know your name. I didn't get it.
Bob Luke.
Bob?
Yeah.
Anyway, you mentioned roads. Now, you did not mention streets in Laughlin.
We use that interchange.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Roads and streets are the same thing to us.
Because I had a petition from over 127 people over there in Laughlin in El Mirage Estates. And I was talking about streets. And everybody that was there, it was home, signed my petition.
Yep.
So I want to know if you're going to get streets or we're just going to get roads.
No. We're going to, your petition is what brought our attention, and that is why we moved it up.
Thank you.
We didn't get it done, yes.
All right.
Rest assured, roads and streets in our language is the same thing.
All right. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else from the audience? Okay. All right. So thank you very much for your presentation and bringing us up to speed. Maybe in the future, if you have updates with the bridge or things like that, you can send them to Tammy and we can give the announcements because, we have a section in our agenda that allows us to make any community, advancement notices and meetings and things like that. And hearing from you today is great. It gives us a much better idea of what has been going on. And if we could just continue that, maybe if you send her an update, that would be great. And I think our public would be more informed that indeed, things that they said haven't just disappeared and gone off into the ether, but indeed, we're aware of them and there is a plan going forward.
Sure, absolutely, I'd love to.
I'd appreciate it. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, too.
Glad to see you. Okay. So let's see, I lost my place here. All right. Receive a report from Anna Talamo, which is Director of Operation with Southern Nevada Transit Coalition. There we are. Hello.
I am presenting for Mike Jackson. As you'll see by our handout, Mike is in Alabama right now speccing our new 40-foot buses. So that's why I'm here giving it. So on the top, you can see our ridership has declined significantly, and that's due to the COVID restrictions on the vehicles. We have a 32 to 42 passenger vehicles that we can only move between 10 and 17. So that's why our ridership is so low. We are working on some incentives because now it's been over a year, so a lot of persons that were using our transportation over this past year have found other means. So even though things in this world are starting to open up a little bit, our ridership is not increasing at the rate we'd hope. So we are working on some incentives to help the general public and bring them back to public transit. The next one is the 40-foot buses. Like I stated, Mike Jackson is in Alabama with our head mechanic speccing out the 40 buses. Laughlin is going to get new 40-foot buses as well as some new paratransit vehicles. We had no safety and security incidents, and I pretty much have a quick report.
Okay, just out of curiosity, because I know the buses, you have to travel with less people on
Yes.
them. Is there any type of, and I remember my days when every 30 minutes, basically, we had one of you coming
Mhm.
by. So I'm wondering if there is any type of federal funding or things to increase in other words, instead of having one every 30 minutes, if you have one every like 15 minutes. Because if you have, I think people get used to the fact that they can't get on the bus because you can't take anybody else, because you're full. So if there were another bus coming in 15 minutes, if that was a possibility, and if there is any type of funding, because I've just seen where your drivers can't pick up anyone because they're full on
Right.
Casino Drive. So I was wondering if there was another bus coming in 15 minutes that they could put passengers on, and if there was funding for that.
We receive operational funding, but the money that is federally out there, we can't apply for directly. It has to be applied for by the RTC or NDOT and then funneled down to us. Because of our nonprofit status and some other regulations, we can't apply for it directly. It has to be applied from another federal funding.
Do you know if they would consider that?
I'm not quite sure. That would be
Because
something.
I believe they're having the same problem probably in Vegas as well.
Yeah, well, those are all different, but it would be something Mike Jackson would be able to answer, because I don't go into those high meetings. So I could, at this time, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Yeah, it's just something that I thought of, because
I
I've
will
heard
definitely
from
bring
quite
it
a few
back.
people, and I used to ride the bus
Mhm.
for many years when I lived here. It was just easy every 30 minutes, so.
Right. Well, it's still running every 30, but like you said, if there's a popular stop and there's a lot of people already on it, hopefully, come May 1st and in June, when things get opened, some establishments have been able to move to the 3-foot rule. And if that was to be applied to the buses, we'd be able to open up our capacity more.
Because I think really it's more of a capacity issue is why
Yes.
your ridership is
Yes.
down.
Yes. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll receive a report from Haley Mayo, there we go, University of Nevada Cooperative Extension regarding status of programs and upcoming events. I didn't see you back there. You were hiding.
I was hiding back there. Hey, how are y'all? So we're still in the works of the community-based instructor position is still in job review. It's a state position. It has to go through all of those things before I can post it. We're hoping to have it posted within the next month so we can get somebody to fill that 4-H youth development position soon. But in the meantime, I'm having loads of fun doing it, and the kids are really enjoying it as well. The community garden has a new irrigation system, so we have beds ready for people. If anybody is interested in having a bed at the community garden, they can reach me via email at hmaio@unr.edu to let me know that they want a bed, and we'll get them all set up with that. On the 21st of April, we will be starting our home garden days at the library again, 10:30 in the morning. If anybody has gardening questions that they want answered, I have a brand new set of master gardeners who are more than eager to answer questions for everybody and get things going around here. So, do y'all have any questions?
Any questions from the board? Nope. Nope. Thank you very much. And we'll receive a report from Jackie Wallen from our Laughlin Chamber of Commerce and also from the Laughlin Tourism Commission.
Good afternoon, Jackie Mazzeo Wallen, Laughlin Chamber of Commerce. Whoa.
I have no idea what that was.
I just want to say thank you to Doug for his good work today. He's been moving the camera quite a bit. He
Yes,
doesn't
is.
get
It's actually
appreciated
really
very
nice to
much.
see.
My report for the Laughlin Chamber of Commerce begins with, we're still working with the Water Flow Committee and BOR to ensure that the water flows we have for tourism and for recreation also meet with the guidelines that they're following for downstream irrigation demands. The Connie Davis 5K Walk and Roll was canceled as an event due to COVID restrictions, but we were able to raise $3,722 by drive-by donations. And we got some amazing gifts. In fact, a 55-inch TV went to a woman who just moved to town a short time ago, about a year ago, and she was getting her own apartment and needed a television. So it was a grand day for us to celebrate inside the chamber and give her her gift. The Chef's Food Fest is still planned, and that's to be determined. Of course, we just have any idea what the COVID restrictions will be at that time, whether we'll have to reduce the number of attendees. In a normal year, we would have somewhere around 550 people attending that event. So I don't know at what percentage we'll be able to do it, and whether or not the resorts and the other restaurants will even have the staff to perform that kind of competition. Ribbon cuttings, we've been doing a lot of them on both sides of the river, and they've been restricted by numbers of attendance, but the volunteers in partnership and the businesses have been very appreciative of us doing them in partnership with the Bullhead City Area Chamber of Commerce. It reduces their expenses, and it also reduces the number of people that are expected to go into those businesses and perform that service. Our network mixers, also education for the community and businesses, will be starting soon. We didn't want to start too fast because we wanted to make sure that we had a really good poll on what people were looking for as far as education. Most of the questions now are on COVID relief, and we've been able to answer that question with our newsletter. The newsletter that goes out every Friday is in its 54th edition, and it's packed with information for all 3 states. So we've been able to just refer them to that document, and we've been able to get a lot of the education done. The Laughlin, the Volunteers in Partnership, their general meeting monthly is tonight. It's inside the mall. We have a socially distanced suite there where they get to sit apart and have a general membership meeting and talk about the events that are upcoming. And they are really excited about being able to get back in action in the community. They have been provided exclusive rights for water sales and selling tickets at the Mayhem main event in the Riverview Mall in Bullhead City, because they've always been a water retail booth for the Laughlin River Run. They were given first opportunity to be exclusive water sales there and help sell tickets for the beer and wine sales that will be there. So they're kind of excited. It's 21st through the 24th from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. They're also still looking for any kind of volunteers that want to help sell tickets or water. Membership has gone up to 298, and the percent of those members that actually have businesses in Laughlin is 29%. The compliance partnership is going along really well. We're building really well. We're building that binder of required documents to acquire permits and licenses and acquire grants for any potential sponsor or promoter that wants to come into town. The COVID-19 partnerships and events that we've been able to do is coming to the next one, of course. Staff and volunteers in partnership will be providing support to the FEMA mobile vaccination unit. It's been confirmed for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in our parking lot. There will be 3 units that come out. Volunteers will help with traffic control, and we're also going to ask the Riverside to help with they have security that comes and checks on us girls in the building, so they'll continue to help us provide some security over there. And the hours for that are not quite set in stone yet, but FEMA will let us know. Due to the controversy over the Johnson & Johnson vaccination, they will have to come twice now. So they will be during the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then coming back up about 28 days later. So we'll have them in our parking lot twice. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the second round of PPP loans, the deadline has been extended for that, and you can now apply up to May 31st. So if you're looking for second round PPP, you better start working at getting your documents together and get it filed before the 31st of May. Everything else can be found in the COVID-19 newsletter that we're doing, and that can be found at laughlin.chamber.com. You sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get everything on Wednesday and everything on Friday that can help you get through the week from Laughlin Chamber or the Laughlin Township. The SB 79 proposed incorporation for Laughlin, those packets, I have some of them with me in case anybody needs them or wants to refer back to them. But if you didn't know, SB 79 died on Friday. So it won't be going up for a vote, and we don't have to concentrate on that right now. But if you still want to see a package, I have them made up, and I brought several of them with me.
Definitely save the file and save the digital copies. It'll be back.
And that's all I have for Laughlin Chamber today. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Okay. Second hat.
So I'll go on with my report for the Laughlin Tourism Commission. I'm president and CEO for them also. Best in the Desert was canceled at the last minute due to some inappropriate filings by the promoter for the COVID-19 response team and some public works filings for the crossing at Needles Highway. So we are ensuring that those two events both will take place in September and October of this year, and that those new compliance binders that I'm putting together will surely help ensure that the checklists are followed and that they don't miss one of those agencies that need to be addressed. We will not be having a Laughlin River Run. However, Mayhem Tattoo Convention, Larry Topping with Revolution Tattoo has decided to go ahead and do his tattoo convention. He has over 100 tattoo artists coming into the Riverview Mall, into the old stage outlet, which is just north of Big Lots. And they're having a tattoo convention there, just like he would have had on the top floor of the Colorado Bell when he had it in Laughlin. And next to that, in the old Bill's outlet, he'll be having an adult playground there where you get to have life-size or bucket-size beer pong, some giant Jenga, all kinds of wonderful things that are going to have there. And the only thing that's going to be sold there is beer and wine. We're not going into hard liquor. And then outside is a free event also with secured bike parking and a live band all day, and a beer garden. So that's the one that the Laughlin Chamber Volunteers in Partnership are going to assist with. Of course, we on the Laughlin side are anticipating occupancies to go up, and that will benefit the tax dollars and the TOD tax that we get back to LTC to do more events in the future. Rockets Over the River is being planned for July 4th and July 4th only. We have submitted for sponsorship dollars for that event, and again, they will be produced by Zambelli Fireworks. Tough Mudder and World's Toughest Mudder Championship. World Championship will be coming 2 weeks in November. We have Run Laughlin, that is the 5K, 10K, and half marathon will be coming in December. Snore will be coming in December. And any concerts that we had that were scheduled, and if you know the names of those concerts, I can't repeat them right now. I'm not at liberty to do that. But there are 4 major names that are coming, and they've all been moved to the last quarter, well, September, October, November of this year. And then all the other ones have been moved to 2022. But we do have 4 large names coming, and we can expect some good turnout for those big name concerts. The Laughlin Air Show. So we haven't had an air show since 2013, and it wasn't produced by the Laughlin Tourism Commission, and we did not sponsor that event. The IFP, Laughlin Bullhead Airport, tried to do it on their own, and they charged for that event, and it wasn't very successful. This year, we would like to sponsor that event and have static ground and air aerobatics, and also have military presence, as well as some other things on the water, so that we get a full view from anybody that wants to park on either side of the river, see from their river view rooms in the resorts, and also for people who want to do some tours through some big, huge aircraft that most people don't get to see on the inside. That's scheduled for April 2022. Negotiations and prepping started this week with a tour with the consultant right here in Laughlin, he'd never been here. And this will be a LTC project, but we have a consultant who will teach Jeremy and I how to put on an air show, and we'll always have to have a consultant that will be able to get us the entertainers. So we won't be the air boss or ground control or air control, but we will be able to help him produce the show, and our expenses will get less and less every year as we learn how to do it. So that's Laughlin Tourism Commission. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have item number 10 is to receive a report from Parks and Recreation. They're not with us today. I do have a written report. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, you are. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, I saw the little note. Okay, sorry. I was trying to move you on. Okay, please. Thank you.
Yep. Good afternoon. My name is Shelley Galata. I'm from Clark County Parks and Recreation. We are here today, and we're back.
Okay.
So I apologize. On the report, I wrote down that we opened March 12th. We actually opened in March 12th for reservations again at our locations here in the Laughlin area, at our park locations that we reserve for picnic areas. But programming actually started this week on April the 12th. Some of the programming that we are offering is on Mondays. We're doing card games, hand and foot, from 9 to 1. Cornhole, we're doing outside to consider with social distancing from 1:30 to 4. Tuesdays, we brought back knitting from 9 to 11. Mahjong from noon to 4. Wednesdays, we are bringing back our program Stay Fit Senior from 8:30 to 9:30. And I believe that's going to also be a social distance program. So I think people do need to pre-register for these programs, because once we've hit our maximum number, considering the room size, we would have to turn people away or put them on a wait list for maybe the next day or so for the next programming. Wednesdays, we're also doing bingo from 10 to 12:30. 5 crowns from 1 to 4. I think I need to sign up for these card games. I haven't played any of these.
Yeah.
Pinochle on Thursdays from 8:30 to noon, and bridge from 12:30 to 4. So where we're playing our card games at, we have card tables set up, and we actually have dividers set up for a card game of 4 at each table, surrounded by plexiglass. It's all nice and clean and set up and ready to go. Seniors who'd like to participate in programming will need to show proof of vaccination. First shot must have been received 2 weeks before attending any programming. Mask and temperature checks will be mandatory at the door. We actually have, at one side of our door, we have a greeting table with all the information that they need. Registration forms included, and we do have masks on site in case anybody does show up without a mask. And we are encouraging everybody to register beforehand. We are limited to 20 people per event or activity. We're hoping that in May, around the corner, our numbers can increase. We will definitely keep advertising that, and we have in contact with our participants at our program. We've been in phone calls, emailing them, and letting them know that we are opened. I also wanted to mention that with Commissioner Naft's office, Clark County Parks and Recreation, and the Culinary Academy of Las Vegas, we're doing a mobile food pantry this Friday, April 16th, here in Laughlin and in Searchlight.
So this Friday?
It's this Friday.
At what time?
I believe we're here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to be at the Spirit Mountain Activity Center. It's going to be set up as a drive-through. So our team will be out there along with the academy, and we'll be loading people's cars up, and they can drive off right through the parking lot. So we have an entrance in and an exit out the parking lot at Spirit Mountain Activity Center. We'll have signs set up for people to come in and exit out, and then we'll also be in the Searchlight also.
Okay, so you'll be giving away food from the mobile food pantry.
Correct.
People driving in and driving out, starting at 8 a.m.
I'm sorry, it's 7? I apologize, it's 7 a.m.
I'm sorry, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
until when? And do you have traffic control?
That's a good question, Jackie.
Jackie, that might be something for the VIPs.
Yeah.
I'm just judging from, if you're doing a mobile food pantry, we do have our food bank here, and we definitely need the Metro volunteers or VIP to help with that, because in this, current economic times, you may find yourself with a very large turnout starting at 7 a.m. You also have, school buses and everything else to contend with. So if I could,
Yeah, thank you for the points, well taken. I
yeah,
will
Metro
definitely-
volunteers or our volunteers in partnership through the chamber, because you may well find a large turnout for that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the input, thank you very much. And then we're headed down to Searchlight with the same food pantry. And we're supposed to be down there at, that one is supposed to begin at noon.
At noon.
At noon. Is there any questions or input? And I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Thank you very much. Something I don't think any of us thought about. And so
Yeah,
you
if
just-
if it's
so
just
thank you.
anything like what we have on our food banks, you'll have a rather large turnout, and
Okay.
understandably so economically
Yeah.
right now. I mean, there are a lot of people hurting. I'm gonna, I don't mean to put you on the spot,
No,
Ms.
no
Colano,
problem.
but in this statement that I have, and this is issued, I'm assuming it saw proofing through Clark County, what it says is seniors who would like to participate in programming will need to show proof of vaccination.
Yes, ma'am.
First shot must have been received 2 weeks prior to attending programs.
Yes, ma'am.
So is this the official statement of Clark County for attending Clark County facilities and programs?
It's
That
for,
you must be vaccinated?
it is from the it's for Clark County recreation programs that provide for senior programming.
Senior programming
Yes, ma'am.
only, it's not anything that is straight across the board for,
No, it's including our senior centers or our locations that offer senior programming. And that is coming from the Director of Parks and Recreation, and from my understanding, also the Commissioner's Office.
interesting.
And if you need further details, I would be more than happy to email Tammy and get those particulars for you. But that was the direction that we received.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there any questions or any other input?
Any more questions from the board or the public?
I have one
Please.
question.
Sure.
I work very closely with the food bank, with delivering food to people who are on the program who, right now, due to COVID, is homebound.
Okay.
I'm getting several phone calls on the food pantry. Is there any way of doing pickups for homebound people through this food pantry, or do you have to be there in person to get it?
My understanding is you have to be there in person. This is a special, this is Las Vegas Academy. They're the ones that set it up. They contacted us to just kind of give them a space and be out there for foot traffic to help them execute. But I can follow up with them, and I can email Tammy and let them know that would be an
Because
option.
I think she has a registered list that they deliver to
Okay.
as a regular thing. So it's not like they're just going to start delivering to the public. It's a list that they go off from all
Okay.
the time for aid.
I could definitely follow up with them and
Okay.
ask them if that's a possibility.
That would be
Um,
great, because then I could let them know when they continue to call.
Okay, and I do believe that they are prepared to be able to serve 150 to 200 people for the food pop-up pantry.
And is it set up, it's going to be at the senior center, but is it set up for Laughlin residents only, Nevada residents only? Does that matter, or are they going to be looking at anything that way?
No, they did not indicate they would be asking for identification to verify it was just for Laughlin residents. I think they're under the impression we are just serving this community for the Laughlin residents. That's what we're here for, serving this community. Since it is from the Las Vegas Academy, But
see.
again, that's something else that I could definitely
Yeah,
follow
because
up
we're
on.
so, because of the bridge and we're so
Correct.
close, we have both.
Yeah.
And so
I
I just
can't see
wanted to
them
be
turning
sure that
anybody-
they wouldn't be checking and saying, you know, and turning people away or something
Mhm.
like that. I just want the public to be correctly informed.
And from my understanding, they've already been here serving this community prior to this Friday. At the gas station. What was the cost you
Kathleen,
say
have
about?
they?
Not that I'm aware
Not
of.
that I'm aware of.
I'm not
Jackie?
aware of that.
No, not that we're aware of.
So what their premise is,
I don't
they
think
just
so.
do like pop-ups, they just kind of pop up, show up, and whoever happens to see them, then they load their cars. That's their whole premise of their program. That's why they call it pop-up pantry. But from our understanding, Aylin and I was shared with us that they were occasionally at a gas station in this community, and people who drive by, they would just load up their vehicle with goods.
But the fact that you're here today
Yeah.
and we have the media here today,
Yeah.
you may well have a large turnout.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get hold of you guys for a month, like, anybody in this to find out if you're real.
Oh.
Get them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
well,
We appreciate your
yeah, no problem.
clarification on
I'll-
it, but yeah, definitely the fact, like I said, this is televised and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so you may well find that, and we have the media here too. So you two could go outside the room and figure that out.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So moving forward, we have received a report from Laughlin School System. Anyone here representing the school? Okay. And, excuse me, receive a report from Tanya Brown Worth with the Laughlin Library? Nope. Okay. And item number 13 is announcements of upcoming neighborhood meetings and county or community meetings and events. This is for discussion only. If there's any community meetings or events, I believe Kathleen Haas has an official statement to make.
As we all know, SB 79, the bill to incorporate Laughlin, was submitted, supported by Senator Hardy. It was submitted back in January on 26. It was first read to the committee on February 1st. And as of Friday, April 10th, it has failed. So as far as the bill going forward right now, we are in a fail state and it is not going to leave the committee. And that was as of this morning when I got the report.
So we don't have to extend more effort and time into all of that. The work that's already been done, we'll hang on to, because I think we may see it again. I've been here 19 years, I've seen it a few times. like
Madam Chair,
4 times.
I would
Yes.
really like to extend a thank you for the community for stepping up and for the members who actually responded to Senator Hardy and to Commissioner Knapp's office and expressing your true feelings on how you feel about our community here. I think it made a huge impact on this decision.
Yes, yes, I agree. And the community involvement, again, I was very happy with. We haven't seen that in a while. And so that's been important. The role the chamber played in it as well as a big, big part of it as well. So. Anything else? Any other community events or meetings planned? Okay. It'll be just a moment and we'll be right at the public comment section and then you can speak on anything that wasn't on this agenda. Okay, so planning and zoning, we have none. General business, we have none. So here, sir, this will be the comments by the general public. And this is a period devoted to comments by the general public about matters relevant to the board, to the board's jurisdiction. We can't take any vote on a matter not listed on our agendas. We'll hear comments and those will be limited to 3 minutes. So if you have any comments to make, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please spell your name because sometimes we have some difficulties with the spelling. And if any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, it'll be done by the chairperson or by the board by majority vote. And then an additional option for people pertaining to, because of COVID restraints, if you'd like to make a written general public comment on an item that is not on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of your board, please submit your comments to, again, Tammy.Harris@ClarkCountyNV. We've got a workload going on there. Workload. Before 10:30 a.m., the date of our meeting, today's would be April 13th. Please include your name, address, and your comments. Comments will be read to the record, no comments over 3 minutes in length, and all comments received will be compiled into a document and shared for public public information as part of the meeting's minutes. So if we have anyone that wants to speak about any items that were not on today's agenda, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and spell your last name.
My name is Patricia Markowski. It's MROCZKOWSKI. I live at 3609 Cottage Canyon. And I have a question. I have a neighbor that flies a flag that I find offensive. And I really didn't care all that much until I had company and they said, seriously? So I have a picture of the flag if you'd like to see it.
You can give it to our secretary. We can't comment on anything like this. And then if you leave your contact information, maybe an email, we can see where that might be directed. I don't know if we would be the proper body to address it, but I think we could find out who that is.
Okay, because I called and I asked and I was told to take a picture and bring it to this meeting.
Yeah, definitely. And
So-
did you put your contact information on that?
No.
Jackie may have
Yeah,
something.
She did. She came to the chamber and she asked what steps she had to take to find out what the guidelines and the restrictions were for flying flags that were uncomfortable or offensive.
Or offensive.
Yeah, so this is where she starts. So
Okay,
she- we
and
didn't
we'll
find
find out. I just honestly, to be honest, I don't know what that would be. But if you wouldn't mind to give Tammy the contact information, we will find out and go from there. But honestly, I don't know the answer to your question, but it's something, if you give us a chance, we'll find out.
I'd appreciate
All
that, because like I say, it's been going on since I moved in. It's changed, but it's still there. It's gotta stop sometime.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else that wants to make public comment on items that are not on this agenda but within the purview of this board? Hello. Hi. Please state your name and address for the record and spell your last name.
My name is David Brunel. Last name is B-R-U-N as in Nora, E-L-L-E. And I own a residence at 2939 Cattail Cove Street in Laughlin. And
Welcome.
I did fill this out with my contact information. If you want to get in touch with me later on, I'll give it to you. First, I want to say I've been walking here in the Mountain View Park for 12, 13 years, and I love this place. I think Jim Burchard, the maintenance supervisor, does a wonderful job at the Mountain View Park, keeps it very, very clean, and he does it pretty much all by himself. But it's come to my attention over the years that there has been some vandalism. And this was a few years ago after Halloween. And so I called Park Police, and I was referred back to Laughlin because there is no Park Police. There's
Oh,
no
Park Police? I'm sorry, was that the word you said? Park?
Park Police. I could
Okay.
back off a little bit. And so they switched me down to the Justice Center here, and they said that Metro does not do law enforcement for the park. They don't take reports. I was reporting a German Shepherd that was off his leash. I read the county ordinance sign next to the tennis courts, and there's leash law ordinances posted all over the park, but nobody really pays that much attention to that. The other thing, though, that the main reason why I'm here is to speak up for Jim, because I think the county is asking him to do a little bit too much in regard to the vandalism. And I would consider this felony vandalism that happened over Easter, which was the 4th. He had a dentist appointment on Monday, but I did see him on Tuesday. And I walked Sunday, and the park was filled with people to the point where the trash was overflowing. There was meat in the grass, glass beer bottles all over where the covered palapas are. And then I found out from him on Tuesday that some criminals went into the bathrooms with 7-ounce glass bottles and shoved them down the toilet, took a rock and broke the bottles off in the toilet. And then they defecated on top of that and took too much toilet paper and jammed up the toilet. And Jim was saying, this happens about 5-6 times a year.
Really?
So we got talking, because I've gotten to know him over the years, and he's not one to complain. So I figured, I'm going to come down here and say something. We don't have park police. We don't have Metro. Is there any way we could contract with some police department to come in and take a criminal report for this? I mean, I'm reading the county, all the ordinances. It says no glass containers. The place was loaded with glass containers. Alcohol, there's no alcohol allowed in the park. Half of these containers were Michelob and Anheuser-Busch, Corona, Carita, but there is no safety and security at the park. I'm not talking Monday through Friday, I'm talking on the weekends. Nobody's around on the weekends, and he has to clean all this up. This is a biohazard. When you're talking about fecal matter in a toilet, not to mention, I'd consider it a felony because these bottles were broken and sharp, and you could be infected, a cut in your hand, trying to get these bottles clear of the toilet. I understand that's part of his job, but I really think that's going a little bit
Yeah, that's
too-
awful.
That's pretty bad.
Okay.
There's no cameras. I understand there's no cameras in the park.
Oh, okay.
And the littering, during the week, it's fine. But when we have permitted events, I think we got to do a little follow-up and get these people to start paying for the mess that they leave. I mean, these trash cans are overflowing with cans and bottles and raw food just left out over the weekend. And it's not until he comes in that anything gets done and cleaned up. I don't think that's respectful to Clark County. And that's, I don't know. There's a lot of violations.
Right, and if you have I know you said you did a written statement, and if you please leave that with us. Parks and Rec just left here a couple of minutes ago. Oh, wait, no, okay.
She's still back there.
I can't see, when the glasses are on, I can't see there, so. So you are being heard by some of the. Oh, okay, okay.
Alon?
And then I don't think there's any reason we wouldn't have patrols by Metro. I think that could be something. Yeah, but at least from my days in law enforcement, extra patrols help a lot during those timeframes. So if Metro is aware of a problem, then they can definitely go out. And if you wouldn't mind giving a copy of that to Tammy, and we'll see what can be done to address it and maybe make it at least less of it. We can't supervise all human behavior, and it's unfortunate that people do things like that. Some of that's very dangerous. But I wasn't aware of this, and you're bringing it to my attention. I've lived here for 27 years, so.
Well, Jim's pretty quiet. He
Yeah,
doesn't make a
no.
lot of noise.
And
but-
he's a good guy and he works very hard. I know. But thank you very much, Mr. Purnell.
David?
But it makes sense. That would really hurt you if we tried to clog it. That's
I didn't even know
terrible.
they were doing that.
Yep. So going forward, is there any other public comment? Okay, so going forward, our next meeting date, although it said here May 11th, we are going to have a second meeting this month, and I believe that's the 27th?
27.
Or help me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
The 27th in this office at 1:30. And so with that, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a double, triple motion. And all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.